Here's Luisa Alvarez.
Stacey, it's record-breaking at 164.9 a liter. That's officially more than anyone on the island has ever paid for gasoline. I spoke to an analyst who explains all the different factors working against us to hike up the price at the pump, and it's more than a few. First things first, the fire has to be out. As you can see behind me, they're still working diligently to do that. They're hopeful it will happen today. Moving spot here, and horses like him one step closer to unemployment. There's vendors here, there's music playing. It's just a party down here. Here on the island especially, time is of the essence. It does not take much for someone with a stolen dog to get on a ferry and be that much further away.
I think council have got it backwards.
That's Richard Talbot, a former commanding officer and honorary colonel of the Canadian Scottish Regiment, reacting to this.
Responsibility for military commemoration and honoring veterans is more properly the responsibility of those federal agencies.
That's Victoria Councillor Ben Isett moving a motion to try to get the Military and Veterans Affairs to foot the bill for policing costs for events such as Remembrance Day.
The Department of National Defence, their budget is nearly 100 times the size of the City of Victoria's budget.
Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Okay.
Council voted to approve his motion, but Isett is facing a lot of criticism, especially for making the move on the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
I think he needs to be educated as to exactly what the situation is. The citizens of Victoria saying thank you to the veterans and those who fell, and we, the residents, pay the bill for that.
And Talbot is far from alone. It's ignited a firestorm on social media across the country. Conservative Calgary MP Michelle Rempel saying Isett should spend more time with veterans. And Port Coquitlam's mayor called the move classless.
Councillor Isett?
Victoria's mayor has her reservations too. Lisa Helps voted against the motion.
When it comes to the men and women who serve our country, I don't think those are the considerations we should be having.
I think it's because of how it's been framed and spun in the media that it's being perceived as an affront to veterans.
Ben Isett blames what he calls conservative political forces and corporate media for the backlash. And today he was standing his ground.
I think it was unfortunate, the timing. I won't apologize for standing up for the taxpayer.
Council will revisit the motion and Isett's amendment at a meeting on June 13th. Victoria City Councillor and federal NDP candidate Laurel Collins voted in favor of that motion yesterday, but today she has apologized and said she will withdraw her support and vote against it next week. Police say they are still looking for information in this case. The senseless tragedy that took place in this Brentwood Bay home early Saturday morning has left the community shaken and a family shattered. Police officers still at the scene where 20-year-old Emily Caruana was found murdered in her grandmother's home. Her boyfriend Justin Booth and her uncle, Halifax resident John Caruana, remain in hospital recovering from the serious injuries they sustained in the attack. Emily's friends are stunned by her death.
She was one of the best people I knew. It's really tragic that something so violent and disgusting could happen to someone so amazing. She always thought so deeply and so passionately about the world and about people, and she always had something intelligent to say, and she always spoke to everyone with kindness and respect.
Emily was described as kind, hardworking, and someone who knew exactly what she wanted out of life.
She had always talked about becoming a teacher. She loved kids.
Emily graduated in 2016 from Earl Marriott Secondary in Surrey and had been working hard to achieve her dream of becoming an elementary school teacher.
Just teach kids, like that was her passion, that was her dream, and she had spent all this time at Douglas, and she was actually going to be going to UBC in the fall.
According to her friends, the Surrey resident and her boyfriend were at her grandmother's home in Brentwood Bay with other family members for the Mother's Day weekend. Police say this was a targeted attack and not a random incident. But the link between this close-knit family and the 48-year-old Nanaimo man who's been charged with first-degree murder remains a mystery. They remain tight-lipped about any significant details in the case, and they have not confirmed that Emily was the intended victim. Standing right in the middle of the Trans-Canada Highway, the highway is still very much closed in both directions, and it's expected to stay for several hours. To this dumpster at about 2 a.m. when it was on fire, you can still see the discoloration, and I can definitely still smell the burnt materials. Bright-eyed and doing better, this little kitten is a fighter. And it's thanks to maintenance worker Brian Boria that she was even given a chance to fight at all.
I am just happy that I gave this little thing a second chance at life.
It began like a regular shift, but something caught his attention Tuesday morning as he went to empty out this garbage container.
And it's right about here onto the garbage.
A shaving kit bag.
Something inside me just said, oh, just have a look inside just to be on the safe side.
And thank goodness he did, because tightly zipped up inside, not making a single sound and barely able to move, was this kitten, very much alive.
The legs and everything were actually popping out as I unzipped it.
He found her in the nick of time. Testing shows the tiny animal had illicit drugs in her system.
The kitten has or had methamphetamine in her urine. So how that got there, we don't know.
With no idea what state she was in, Boria was grateful to see a pair of big green eyes looking up at him.
I went to go and scratch her a little bit, and she gave me a little paw on the finger, like, hey, I'm okay.
But after what had just happened sunk in, he says he first panicked.
I was looking around for someone to help me. No one was around. I radioed for security. I was panicking so much, I just said, you guys have to get over here. I found a kitten and it's still alive.
Then he was overcome with a roller coaster of emotions.
Confusion, anger, sadness that someone would throw away something so precious, so little, so innocent, has done nothing wrong, and just toss it out like garbage.
She has a little ways to go, but is thriving. In the meantime, investigators will keep working to find the person responsible for treating this young life like trash. At this point, investigators are relying on the public, and they have already received several tips, which they are following up on right now. April filed the complaint with Health Canada regarding this product, and she's not the only one. The federal government is responding to a decision by Saudi Arabia to pull thousands of Saudi students out of Canada. I'm one that loves the heat, so this is the best news for me, but I'm sure a lot of people out there are breathing a sigh of relief with a little bit of a break.
Cool down for sure.
All right, well, let's take a look at how the markets closed today. A Campbell River man is speaking out tonight after he says he was told he'd have to spend the night in the new hospital's hallway. Those in the sport fishing industry are still grappling over measures announced Tuesday to help Fraser River Chinook salmon populations.
The minister has stated in his press release that this was a difficult decision, but I don't believe he realizes how difficult and how deep the impacts will be.
The new measures for sport fishing mean now until midsummer on the south coast of BC, any Chinook salmon caught cannot be retained and must be thrown back.
When we go on the road and go marketing and bring people from around the world to come here, we sell our trips based on retaining a Chinook salmon.
Even after that, the overall number that can be retained per person in a season has been reduced from 30 fish to 10. Changes they believe will have devastating impacts on tourism.
We have the potential of losing this industry very fast.
In a lot of coastal communities like Port Renfrew, the sport fishing and tourism industry are closely tied to their economy.
I don't know personally how some of these operators will survive this.
The minister has decided to cause irreparable harm and long-lasting damage to an important part of the social and economic fabric of coastal communities on Vancouver Island.
They're not disputing something needs to be done about declining Chinook salmon populations. But with so many people's livelihood hanging in the balance, they say they hope the government would have taken a more balanced approach, an approach they said they provided, but was ultimately turned down.
The plan that we put forward focused all of our catch on those hatchery stocks and moved it completely away from the wild stocks of Chinook, which are the stocks of concern.
And with the possibility of more restrictions coming, they're left waiting for the other shoe to drop. That wraps our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and from everyone here at Check News, have a great night.